Funeral wasn't even over when my older sister stood beside our grandmother's casket, smiled through fake tears, and announced that she'd inherited everything. Then she looked directly at me. I guess Grandma finally realized who actually cared about her. A few relatives nodded. Others avoided making eye contact with me. Then she leaned closer and whispered, "You always were her charity project." I didn't answer. I simply picked up my purse and walked toward the exit, because sitting inside my bag was a sealed envelope our grandmother had handed me 2 months before she died. She had looked me in the eyes and said, "Only open this if Vanessa shows everyone exactly who she really is." As I walked toward my car, I realized that moment had finally arrived. If you've ever watched someone take credit for something they didn't earn, this story is for you. Subscribe for more original revenge stories where patience always beats arrogance. Now, let me tell you how my sister's biggest victory became her greatest humiliation. My name is Olivia Bennett. I'm 29 years old. Growing up, my sister Vanessa was always the center of attention. She was 6 years older than me, confident, beautiful, and incredibly good at convincing people she was the victim. Whenever she broke something, someone else got blamed. Whenever she forgot a birthday, she somehow became the one who deserved sympathy. People admired her charm. I saw something different. I saw how carefully she used it, especially with Grandma Eleanor. Grandma wasn't rich, at least. That's what everyone believed. She lived in the same small white house for 40 years. She drove an old blue sedan. She clipped grocery coupons. She reused gift bags every Christmas. Vanessa constantly joked that Grandma was the queen of saving pennies. I never laughed, because Grandma always told me the richest people rarely feel the need to prove it. At the time, I thought she was talking about character. Years later, I realized she meant something else entirely. Unlike Vanessa, I visited Grandma every weekend, not because I expected anything. I simply enjoyed being with her. We baked apple pies, played cards, watched old movies. Sometimes we'd sit on the porch for hours without saying much at all. She loved quiet. She once told me, "The people who only visit when they need something usually arrive talking." That sentence described Vanessa perfectly. She only appeared on birthdays, Christmas, or whenever she wanted money. Grandma always gave it to her anyway, not because she was fooled, because she hoped Vanessa would eventually change. She never did. About 6 months before Grandma passed away, doctors discovered her heart condition had become much worse. She never complained. Instead, she started organizing everything: photographs, old letters, family recipes. One afternoon, she asked me to help clean the attic. While sorting through dusty boxes, she suddenly asked, "Olivia, if people think money is more important than family, what usually happens?" I smiled. "They lose both." She nodded slowly. "I've been afraid of that." I didn't understand what she meant. Not then. The week before she died, Grandma invited me over one last time. She seemed unusually peaceful, almost relieved. After lunch, she handed me a plain white envelope. There was no name written on it, only a small gold sticker sealing the flap. She held my hand tightly. "This stays closed. No matter what, unless Vanessa shows everyone who she really is after I'm gone." I stared at the envelope. "What is it?" She smiled. "Insurance." I laughed softly. "Insurance against what?" She looked out the kitchen window. "Greed." Those were the last meaningful words she ever said to me. 3 days later, she passed away peacefully in her sleep. The funeral was beautiful. Friends from church, neighbors, former coworkers. The small chapel was completely full. Everyone shared stories about Grandma's kindness, her generosity, her quiet wisdom. Vanessa cried louder than anyone. She hugged relatives, accepted sympathy, told everyone how heartbroken she was. I watched quietly, because I hadn't seen her visit Grandma once during the last 4 months of her life. Not once. Still, I said nothing. Grandma hated arguments, even at her own funeral. I wanted to honor that. Then everything changed. As people gathered outside after the service, Vanessa climbed onto the chapel steps. She cleared her throat dramatically. "I just spoke with Grandma's attorney." She smiled proudly. "It turns out Grandma left everything to me." Gasps spread through the crowd. She continued, "I suppose she wanted her estate managed by someone responsible." Then she looked directly at me. "I know some people expected charity, but Grandma made her choice." The silence that followed felt endless. My uncle awkwardly looked away. Aunt Linda shook her head. Someone actually whispered, "That's unfortunate." Vanessa smiled as though she'd won a competition. She had no idea. The real story hadn't even begun. Vanessa spent the next 30 minutes accepting congratulations as though she'd just won an award. She thanked everyone for their support. She even started talking about protecting Grandma's legacy. Listening to her was almost surreal. She hadn't visited Grandma in months. She rarely answered Grandma's phone calls. Yet now, she acted like they'd been inseparable. Several relatives gathered around her. "So, what are you going to do with the house?" my cousin asked. Vanessa smiled. "I'll probably sell it. It's old. The land is worth much more." I felt my stomach tighten. That little white house wasn't just a building. It held every birthday, every Christmas dinner, every memory of my childhood. Grandma had planted every flower herself. She loved that home. The idea of someone tearing it down for profit felt like losing her all over again. The next morning, our family met at Attorney Michael Carter's office. Everyone expected a simple reading of the will. Vanessa walked in, wearing an expensive designer suit and carrying a notebook. She looked confident, almost excited, as if she'd already spent the inheritance in her mind. I quietly sat near the back. The white envelope remained untouched inside my purse. Attorney Carter adjusted his glasses. "Before we begin, I'd like everyone to remain seated until I've finished reading the documents." Vanessa smiled. "I'm sure this won't take long." He didn't respond. Instead, he opened a thick folder. The last will and testament of Eleanor Bennett. His voice filled the quiet room. Grandma left several personal items to close friends. Small donations went to her church. She established a scholarship fund for local students. Then came the family section. The family residence. Vanessa leaned forward. "Shall temporarily transfer to Vanessa Bennett." She smiled immediately. I noticed Attorney Carter hadn't reached the end of the sentence. He continued reading. "Under the conditions described in Addendum B." Vanessa frowned. "What conditions?" The attorney calmly flipped another page. "We'll discuss those shortly." She leaned back again, still smiling. She clearly believed the conditions were just legal paperwork. She couldn't have been more wrong. After the meeting ended, Vanessa walked straight toward me. "I hope you're not disappointed." She smiled sweetly enough for everyone else to admire. Then her voice dropped. "Grandma finally stopped treating you like her favorite little charity case." I looked at her quietly. "You really think that's what happened?" She laughed. "What else could it be?" I reached into my purse. My fingers touched the sealed envelope. Not yet. Grandma had been very specific. Only after Vanessa revealed who she truly was. I looked back at my sister. She had already done exactly that. But there was one final step left. Attorney Carter suddenly walked into the hallway. "Olivia, I'll need to speak with you privately." Vanessa's confident smile slowly disappeared. She didn't know it yet, but the meeting she wasn't invited to would change everything. Attorney Carter closed the office door behind us. Then he looked at me with a small smile. "I've been waiting a long time for this." He reached into his briefcase and carefully removed a second folder. "I believe this belongs with you." I frowned. "What is it?" "It's your grandmother's final instruction." He slid the folder across the desk. Inside was a handwritten letter. The handwriting was unmistakably Grandma's. At the top it read, "If you're reading this, Vanessa has chosen greed over family." A lump formed in my throat as I continued reading. Open quote, Olivia, "If your sister is celebrating before showing kindness, then she has learned nothing from me." That's why I asked my attorney to prepare one final condition. Close quote, tears blurred my vision. Attorney Carter quietly handed me a tissue. Then he opened another document. "This is Addendum B." The attorney invited everyone back into the conference room. Vanessa walked in confidently. "Can we finish this?" "I have movers coming this weekend." Attorney Carter nodded. "There's one remaining document." Vanessa crossed her arms. "Go ahead." He adjusted his glasses. "The residence transfers to Vanessa Bennett." She smiled again. "Only if she chooses to keep the property as the family's permanent home and allows immediate family unrestricted access." Her smile faded. He continued reading. "If the property is listed for sale, demolished, or transferred within 5 years, ownership automatically passes to Olivia Bennett." Silence. Vanessa blinked. "What?" Attorney Carter wasn't finished. He lifted another page. "Furthermore, If Vanessa publicly insults, humiliates, or attempts to intentionally exclude Olivia from the inheritance before the estate is finalized, she immediately forfeits every right to the property. Every head in the room slowly turned toward Vanessa. She laughed nervously. That's ridiculous. Attorney Carter calmly opened his laptop. I anticipated that response. He pressed the space bar. A video began playing. It was recorded outside the church. Vanessa's voice echoed through the conference room. I guess Grandma finally realized who actually cared about her. Then, I know some people expected charity, but Grandma made her choice. Finally, Grandma stopped treating you like her favorite little charity case. Attorney Carter paused the video. The funeral was recorded by church security cameras with audio. The statements were witnessed by more than 30 people. Vanessa's face turned completely pale. No, no, that can't count. It does, the attorney replied. You violated the conditions before probate was completed. According to Eleanor Bennett's final instructions, the house, her savings, her investment accounts, and every remaining estate asset now legally belonged to Olivia Bennett. The room fell silent. My uncle slowly smiled. Aunt Linda wiped away tears. One cousin quietly whispered, Grandma knew. I nodded. She knew exactly who Vanessa was. Vanessa looked at me. You planned this. I shook my head. No. Grandma did. You made the choice. A few weeks later, I moved into Grandma's house. The first thing I did wasn't renovate it. I planted fresh flowers in the front garden, just like Grandma used to every spring. I kept every family photograph exactly where she'd placed it. I even left her favorite rocking chair on the porch. Vanessa called several times. At first, she demanded another chance. Then she asked for money. Eventually, she stopped calling altogether. I genuinely hoped she would change someday, but that decision was finally hers to make. Grandma once told me that a person's true character isn't revealed when they lose. It's revealed when they believe they've already won. Vanessa thought she had inherited everything. Instead, she inherited the consequences of her own greed. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't getting even. It's allowing someone to be judged by the choices they freely make. If this story kept you watching until the very end, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. What would you have done if you were Olivia? Would you have forgiven Vanessa? Or let Grandma's final lesson stand? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next original Reddit-style revenge story.